Staffan Ljunggren heter jag och är en av arrangörerna för Uppsala MusikDemo. Och nu har vi kommit till sista punkten för dagen som har med föreläsningar att göra. Och vi ska få en liten crash course i hur man distribuerar sin musik och hittar och skapar plattformar för att nå ut till sina fans. Den här föreläsningen blir på engelska för att det blir lättare med terminologin på det sättet. Och vi välkomnar Niko Sadr.
Tack. Hej! Tack. Jag switchar över på engelska på en gång. Sorry, det är lite konstigt så att ni får jättegärna fråga frågor. Om det är någonting som ni inte förstår så får ni självklart säga till sådär på engelska. Eller på svenska. Men det är mest för att allt mitt material kommer vara på engelska och det är sociala medier vi pratar om. Så att makes sense. So I'm just switching over. Also, I used to live in London for 5 years, which is why I sound like this. So that's all my material is coming. I've just moved over to Stockholm. So my name is Niko. I'm not going to talk too much about myself, but I work for a company that's called The Orchard, and it's a music distribution company, music and film. We do film in North America as well. And the part where I mainly focus on is digital marketing, advertising, design, and the retail marketing, so pitching stuff to services like Spotify and Apple and things like that. I'm not going to focus on a large part of that. I'm just going to focus a little bit on this digital marketing bit because it's a big area and it's just impossible to fit everything in 45 minutes. So I'm just going to run through the main platforms. I've decided to just keep it to Facebook and Instagram today, just so that you get an overview of how you can work with those platforms and make the most, and also get inspiration on how you can work with them. I think the main thing is that I don't actually, a lot of the time, so when I talk about advertising or budgets and things like that, a lot of the times I actually work with like a zero budget because I do work with independent labels and artists that don't always have much money. So perhaps some of you recognize yourselves in that. So this will be mainly focused on all the free stuff that you can do that perhaps you are not aware of, and also making just sense of the platforms. Cool. Okay, so let's just dive right in. Facebook. Any thoughts on Facebook? How are your feelings towards Facebook? Do you like it?
Sure.
Sure. Why?
It's useful when I work. It's good. It's easy. It's direct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How many people use a business page? Just your personal profile? Yes, exactly, everyone. So everyone should have, if you have a band, set up a Facebook page. Now, with that said, a lot of the times when I ask people, what do you guys think about Facebook? They go, oh, yeah, it's boring, I'm over it. Because it's annoying and I put all this effort in and I'm paying lots of money, but I don't get to reach all my fans. And don't worry if you don't know what that means, but we're gonna go into exactly what that means. Because when you're posting something on your page, it's not always that everyone gets to see it. Well, actually, that never happens. And so a lot of the times you have to actually keep your save or take advantage of knowing how the platform works to get the most amount of reach. So this is the way that it's set up on a basics. Now, bear in mind, Facebook has over 10,000 different algorithms that decide exactly what you get to see in your newsfeed. So just as a personal user, when you're seeing content on your newsfeed, it's being decided by all these 100,000 whatever algorithms that's going around. They're not going to tell us all their secrets. So these are like the big ones that we're aware of, that we can help then think about when we're trying to plan our campaigns, right? So one of them is interaction, content, and timing. Those three actually are the main ones that we're going to dive into a little bit more. Relationships I'm going to get back to, and profile, quality, and frequency. Now, profile has to do with the fact that when you're setting up a Facebook page, please make sure that you're putting everything in your profile, that you fill out as much as possible. If you don't fill it out, it will look like a spam page, and that will take down the reach. So they're not going to make it doesn't look serious enough for them. Quality has to do with the amount of posts that you're doing. So if you're posting things that fans don't react to if you don't get enough of a good reaction. If you keep posting bad content, your reach is just going to continue to go down and down and down. Now, frequency has to do with the amount of times that you post. So Facebook likes you to be sort of like a stock market, like they like you to be frequent. So if you're one of those people that haven't posted on Facebook for like 2 or 3 months, because often when I work with artists, that's actually something that's changing as well. But a lot of the times is you have a time where you go into the studio and you record your stuff, and you don't actually do that much on social media, and then you go about and then you want to like sell it or reach out, and then you're like, oh, I have to post like 10,000 times right away. That doesn't work. You have to, if you haven't posted in 3 months, you have to start by setting up once a week, and then building up twice a week, and then 3 times a week, and then 4 times a week. So you sort of, they like you to slowly build it up. One thing to be aware of also is that you're competing with a lot of other businesses and friends, because that's obviously mixed in the profiles. So if you're planning to post things on Facebook, I would recommend for a small to medium page not to post more than twice a day, because what you're doing is if you're posting 4 times, you're gonna hinder the reach of those first ones that you posted, because it just gets all confused. They're not gonna have the time. No one's gonna get your messages 4 times in their newsfeed, because you're competing with so many other pages. Does that sort of make sense? Okay, so I'm going to show you a video, and then I'm going to talk more about those main ones. Oh, that's interesting. It's not in here. I'm going to try and disconnect this. It's in my other view, isn't it? Da-da. Let me just check. Oh, it doesn't want to come up. Okay, fine. I'm going to go back to this, and then I'm just going to talk about this. There's a video on the Facebook blog. They actually publish all the updates on all of these type of things on their blog. So if you want to have a good resource to find out what's happening, what's going on in terms of algorithm stuff, that's actually where they explain it. Okay, so this guy, what this guy in the video was saying is that you need to be thinking about the interaction, the content, and the timing. Now, with that said, that means that, so interaction, a lot of people know that you see your best, so the posts in your newsfeed that you see is like the ones from your best friends, right? The people that you interact with the most. The people that you haven't interacted with, you're not going to see them in your newsfeed. Now, you know that, but what does that mean when we're thinking about it working from a band perspective? Is when you're posting, you need to create content for your superfans. Now, this is something I always say because people go on like, oh yeah, but we need to write something that like attracts everyone. No, because Facebook is going to put that post out to the people that interact the most with your page. If they like it, it will then go out to the next tier. And if they then like it, that will then get spread out. So you need to always think about content that actually your fans, your super fans will like the most, because otherwise it's not going to go anywhere if you're just doing. Of course, we know that sometimes we just have to do, this is me in a magazine or something like that, but try and think about when you're planning your campaigns that that's the number one thing. Now, with that said, they also take into consideration the relationship. So if I'm someone that constantly clicks on likes and comments on people's content, I am actually worth less. So you get sort of like a rating. So I'm worth less than the person that never likes something. So when they like something, they know, oh, okay. So it's like impossible to know. They'll even, track the fact that if you're scrolling but not clicking on a link, but you're still scrolling and like holding on for a few seconds, they will track that as well. So just be aware that they'll track anything. Content has to do with the type of content, so video, text, and we're going to go into that, so I'm not going to touch that too much now, and timing as well. Okay, let's move on. So which one of these is worth the most when you're... So I did mention that of course, if I'm someone that likes stuff all the time, my like is not going to be worth. But they sort of have like, one of them is weighted a little bit more. Yeah?
Share, perhaps.
Yes. So it used to be like, the clear one used to be like share, always. Or whenever someone shares it, that's when you know that they like it a lot. Of course, once again, if I'm someone that shares everything I see, it's not going to be worth anything. But one thing that's actually started recently to get more and more heavy because of the fact that they think about recency, so it has to be like timely, is also commenting. So they very much weigh the fact that you are talking to your fans and that you're answering your fans and that fans are talking to you. So that is actually becoming more and more worth in terms of the reach. Okay, let's talk about content. So I mentioned this, photo, video, link, text. Which one has the best reach?
Video?
Yes? Good, good. Yeah, that's a very good guess. So video on an average has the best reach. Now, as I said before, with that in mind, of course you can have a photo that goes really well if it actually moves your fans and they tend to interact with it a lot more and the engagement is really high. Of course that will do better than just a crap video. So that's not what it means. But on a general basis, the reason why I'm going through this is when you're thinking about your key days, so your announcements and your highlights, think about creating content in video formats. And that doesn't mean that you have to have video content. We're going to go into that, but you can just create, like if you're doing a tour, don't just put the tour poster up. You can create a simple video, just putting it in the video, put some background music on it, and then you have that in a video format. And you just like, it's still the sort of poster that you had. You don't have to have live material in that sense. Now, with that said, Facebook is pushing a type of video even more, so Facebook Live. I'm sure you all saw this. Like when it launched, everyone was using Facebook Live. And then there was like these, there was sort of like, which one do you like the most? Click like happy face, or if you like that, or click that. Like sad face, if you like this one. So they used to do like these like voting things, but it was like a live video that they put up. Those ones have now been banned because they don't like you using it. It's sort of a way of gaming the system. So with live video, I would always try and make it, if possible, live as, you know, a real live, so to speak, so that you're not sort of trying to game the system. That could be a Q&A, that could be you just setting up, like with DJs, I have like DJs just like setting up their DJ kits and then just like playing. If you're playing in a band, you can just, you know, film the practice. There is one way that still sort of works and which I use in worst case scenarios, which is you can put together like pre-stream kind of a video. So this is actually a video with, I don't know if you can see that well, but it's actually the name of the songs on the album and it was before the album came out. So we did these sort of like 1 minute tracks for each of those and they would just kind of play. So this is a vinyl that's playing, that's just going around. It's just sort of like a static graphic that we put together because the artist wasn't up for doing anything live. So I did use this one. And you can do that by using a different tool that you can download and put together with Facebook. But I would make sure always that it is sort of any type of, so it's not completely static, that it is at least something happening in the video. And if you have questions on that, you can just ask me later. Okay, I'm going to show you, because what people say when I talk about live streaming is that they're very scared about live streaming because it's like it has to be perfect and everything have to work. A lot of the times artists are very particular with that and precious, which of course is fair enough, but I'm going to show you an example of where things can go wrong and it's still hilarious for the fans. I hope you can hear this now.
Is it like that? Blue button look like it blackout, man.
Sort of? Yeah.
Let me check. Just checking.
I push live on the OBS.
Yeah, you're definitely live on because I can see you. So you're definitely going to be live if it
And I hope we're in real time now. I'm snapping.
She can't see it.
She could see us, bruh. They seeing you too. They laughing at you.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, so that was a good little...
Y'all hear us arguing?
I'm gonna actually stop it there. So yeah, so this is a reggae band, Morgan Heritage. They actually won some Grammys in the US, so they've been going on for like 30 years or something. And they were very excited when we talked about live streaming, and were very up for trying it, but of course had no idea how to do it. And they were in France and I was in London. And so they called me up and they were like, Niko, like you need to make sure that this is working. But they were live, so it was working. And all the fans were just like, hello, Niko, ha, ha, ha. Like, you're live, bro, like what's happening? And they actually really enjoyed it because it was a candid moment in you know, where you could see, of course, these guys have like really strong personalities as well, but it's a great way of like, you could see that in the band, and that's why they love them as well. So don't worry if things go to shit. That's actually could also be part of why fans love you. And I think it's important to emphasize that social media is about the closeness and the realness and in the now, and not necessarily what's perfect. So another thing when it comes to video, on Facebook, is the format. So you can have different types of formats. So you can do, I would recommend this square one because it fits in with the newsfeed. So it takes actually bigger place in the newsfeed. I know it's a slightly annoying to make. So one of the main things is that if you're creating content for different platforms, you need to also be creating content specifically for those platforms. So on Instagram, it is the square one that works the best. But for Instagram stories, you want to have the vertical videos. On YouTube, you want to have the horizontal ones. And so they're all different sizes, and they need to be, of course, fit in with those sizes. And when people are scrolling, the horizontal ones sort of go, we've seen so many of them, it's even easier to just skip them now. Whereas these ones are slightly bigger, so they take more space. If you're thinking about using videos, I would recommend that. I'm going to show you another version of what I talked about when it comes to posters. This is something where I just took something from one of their previous videos that they had, and I put it in, and then I just put a frame with all the tour dates in it. I literally, that's what I had. I took a little bit from their video, and those photos are just the photos that they had on the inside of their album sleeve. So I just stole them and I put them in. And then this one is a frame that you can switch out for anything, really. And this was for a particular show, but of course, if you have a tour, you can add all of those in. When it comes to videos, make sure that you also check in your insights. You can check more about how long people have been watching it. So if they're watching it because when you're looking at a view, they're only watching it for 3 seconds on Facebook. But if you go into your insights, you'll be able to see that they might be actually watching it for, there's far fewer people that have watched longer time of your video. One thing to be aware of is that Facebook actually weighs this more now. So be aware to create content. If you're creating a longer video, that people don't stop watching it within the first few seconds. That's the same as they do on YouTube. So think about it that way. Timing. Okay, so I'm going to move on to timing. This is a question that comes up a lot when it comes to posting. So when should I be posting? When's the right time to post? The answer to that is actually you have to test your way. I found for bands, Sundays actually are quite a good day, just generally. But there are also great insights on Facebook. So if you go into insights and then you go into post types, you'll be able to see when your fans are online. And so this shows when most of your fans are online. Bear in mind, if it's an international audience, it will combine all of them. And so you will actually get the best time worldwide to post, but in your time, of course. Now, what happens with that is if it happens to be when a lot of other people are posting, when a lot of businesses are posting, if it's at the same time as your fans are online, you might still have a kind of a slower reach. So that's all about testing it, because that has to do with the engagement that you have to go. But this is a good way to start if you have no idea when to start posting. Just time it for when it's going up. Yes, so I've talked all about this algorithm-based, and people get really confused, and they're like, oh, but should I do everything with the algorithm? Now, one thing that I wanted to point out is actually you can actually ask your fans to click that they want to see every post that you're doing. So there is this little feature that you can click on following, and instead of having it on default, you can put see first, and that overrides all of the algorithms for me, my newsfeed. So I'll always be able to see all the posts. So that's something that you can ask your fans to do if you wanted to. You can also, if you have a little bit of a larger audience, you can play around with having different types of posts in different locations. So if you're having a PR send out, for example, in Poland, then you can target only your Polish users. But that's for a little bit of a bigger page. And then you can also put in interest. Now, this is for a page, if you're a business page, let's say, for example, that we're a booking agency that has a lot of artists. And so one of our artists sort of doesn't, we have a lot of different artists. They're not all in the same genre. Now, with that, all the stuff that you're posting is not relevant to all of your audience. So you can actually put in interest like, we're writing about, I don't know what I'm thinking about, Adidas, but like Adidas. They're just posting about this artist is having a partnership with Adidas, and we think that we only want to target it to people that are particularly interested in Adidas. And so you can then put this in your interest. That won't close everyone else from seeing it. It will just make sure that it goes out first to the people that have that interest. Does this all make sense? Yes? Cool. Please don't ask people to buy your stuff all the time. So when Facebook started, it actually was used for a lot of businesses, particularly in Sweden. It used to be run like as websites. And so you would just put all the information out there, but you wouldn't care about getting anything back from fans. But it's still part of social media, and also getting heavier and heavier relied on those type of comment and engagement actions. And so when you're constantly posting, oh, I'm doing this, now buy this, or oh, this is out now, buy this, and that's the only time you're posting on Facebook, that's not eventually going to work well. Now, with that said, of course, we're selling a product, or we're selling tickets, or whatever we're selling. So we will have those key moments, but in between those, make sure that you have those sort of candid moments where you're actually connecting to your audience. So you need to think about what am I standing for? What are the 3 things that I want my fans to think about when they're actually going onto my page, and what's my overall brand that I stand for? And those are the things that you should be talking to with your fans, because your fans are probably standing for those as well, because otherwise they wouldn't be interested in you. And I find artists always knows their fans the best, so you just need to sit down and have a think about it, and create content that's fun and engaging, and not always buy. They actually do take down overly promotional ones. So if you're thinking about advertising stuff, save your money to when you have your album out, or a single out, or you're selling tickets for a show, for those ones, because that's when you need the money. They've also launched this shop section, which I thought was quite interesting. So you can actually put in anything. You can put in digital stuff as well in here. But if you have like merchandise and stuff, you can put that in, and it will appear on the top of the page. And also, if you're having posts, when you're creating those type of posts where it's like a little bit more casual, you can also add a product. So it's not necessarily like saying, hey, go and buy this, but it's there if people want it. So it's a little bit of an easier one. Banners, don't forget your banners. Don't just put like a photo of yourself. It's an information banner. I know people don't always go on the page. We usually see everything in our newsfeed, but if they do, you want the information to be there. So the Facebook banner can also be a video, which you can use. And one of the, here, for example, you have, it's just rolling. And it's just here it is, this is out now, or if you have a tour, make sure that it's out there. This is just the basic thing to just be aware of. I find a lot of people still forget that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this fun one. So 360 images and videos. So 360 videos are quite difficult, so I'm going to skip that part, but you can create images yourself. So there is actually this Google tool, which I can tell you about if you come up, if you're interested. And you can put together photos. So this is something that I put together from unfortunately I can't show you, but there is the album artwork, and it's basically it's the same image. So it's two mirroring image that you can like scroll around. It works really well on mobile. And one of them has 3 differences from the other one. So it was just like a game of like, hey, can you spot these 3 differences? And it was sort of like them just twirling around, and it also makes fans like sort of go around. But it's all about engaging with the content and what you're standing for, because of course this was included on the album cover, and it's sort of like that space sound that fitted in with this band. I did talk about comments. If you want to look up a band that's really good on socials, that's worked their way up, it's a rock band in the UK, and they're called Raven Eye, and they are super good. So this campaign was just brilliant because they asked people to be there, giving out posters and be like their sort of, the street teams back in the old days when we had street teams. But what they're really good at is across all of their socials, they always make sure to reply every single person. And so they did this live stream. So not only did the live stream, but they also made sure to afterwards to go back and answer. I'm not saying that your full-time job should be answering messages. I'm just saying if you're taking 10 minutes of your day, if you've done a live stream, it might be just stick around for 10 extra minutes and just answer the ones that have like pulled through. Okay, is there anything on that so far? I'm trying to like whiz through it. Sorry if I'm talking really fast. I'm trying to get through a lot. All understandable. Good. Okay, let's talk about new features. To be honest, new features come out every single day, and especially with like Instagram and Snapchat and everything is just coming through. But Facebook has a few fun ones as well. Has anyone tried these frames? So you can like put these, you've already seen them for like the big events, people could switch it out, but now anyone can create these frames. So they have a frame studio, if you Google it, it will come up. And you can actually design your own sort of frame. So it could be, I've just done one with a band that's called Death by Unga Bunga, and they have, the band is like a bit funny, so they do this like meme, which if you don't know what it means, don't worry. But they have this like cracking open a cold one with the boys, because they have a line in their track that's like that. So they want their fans to just like take a photo when they're hanging out with the boys cracking open a cold one. And it just says that, and then also the name of the band, of course, and when it's out. And so that's a really good way of making sure that you're actually putting that out there and people are aware of it. They can use it for a profile frame on Facebook, or they can use the camera effects, which I'm sure you've seen, of course, that we can create like, there's a camera on Facebook. It's not as popular, but it's definitely good for these type of things. This is an old one. When it launched, Sia did one, so you could just put your face or her hair on your face. So that was quite a fun one. They have also launched that now you can do like augmented reality ones, which are the ones like, when you're doing, you can do them on Instagram and on Snapchat as well. You get like a filter on your face and you get like, you become an old man, or you become, those type of things. So you can create those ones specifically. Anyone can create them if they have the knowledge, so to speak. But I just wanted to say, obviously, even if it's not relevant to you, I'm mentioning these things because it's good to be aware of, because that shows where the digital platforms are heading and also what Facebook is focusing on. One of their focuses is AR. So just be aware of that. Okay, page groups. So this is something that I don't see too many people using, but it is available. So pages can now create groups. And it's a brilliant way for you to be part of like your fan group, but also leave them to it, sort of thing. You get great insights actually on like who your biggest members are, so you can like see who's interacting the most. You can send them personal messages if you would like to, for example, if you're having some type of competition. You can see who's interacting, how many members you've got. This for a band that's called Satyricon in Norway that I work with. And we created this group. We literally just left it, and fans started posting when they went to shows. They just started posting from, this one's like from Poland, and they just post their videos in the same. So it also makes them connect to each other, both online and offline, and that makes them connect to the band. And it's actually not any extra work for the band. It's just a nice way of those old school sort of communities that you can put on Facebook as well. This is something that's new in the algorithm that I didn't mention. So as well as recency, so how recent the event is that you're talking about, that will make sure that it gets bumped up in the Facebook feed. Speed also matters. So with that said, if, for example, you're posting something and it's linking out to a website that doesn't load that fast, that will be taken into consideration as well. So make sure that all of your other properties that you're talking about also is working properly. And of course, there's the whole Google setup for that. And I'm aware it's a crazy world, but just be aware that they do take that into consideration as well. Has anyone heard of Facebook Watch? So they're trying to compete with YouTube. They love YouTube. They love Snapchat and YouTube. They take everything from them. And so this is actually launched in the US, and it's sort of like a video hub where you can watch long form content. So that's what I was mentioning with long form content, that they're actually starting to, if you're creating good long form content that people are watching, they'll kind of bump that up a little bit higher. And for those of you that are aware of Scam, they also have a Scam US, a Scam Austin, and that actually is only on Facebook Watch. They have this profile, so this is on their page, which you can also see. But that's one of their first original shows that's on that particular hub. So it's something good to be aware of. Okay, that was like the quickest Facebook scam that I've tried to do, I think. Are there any questions on Facebook that you're wondering? I'm just trying to give you the tools, but of course this is, part of a bigger campaign. But it's good for a little overview. Okay, should I continue then? Yes. Okay, Instagram. So what do you guys think about Instagram? Any thoughts? That was a bit meh, I don't know.
I don't know. I think I use it more and more, actually.
Yeah.
But it's somehow meaningless.
Yeah, I don't want to go into like philosophical questions about how meaningless Instagram is. But yeah, it is actually true. It's one of the most popular platforms in the Nordics. Be aware that Facebook owns Instagram, which is why I bring them both up, because they're part of each other. If you're using Facebook well, that will also be good for Instagram and vice versa. But it is the one platform that I find most artists prefer because they feel like they have a little bit more control, and they're rolling out features like crazy, just one after the other. And they've taken a lot of inspiration from Snapchat, and because they had the older demographics on Instagram and because it's connected to Facebook, they're actually doing really well with it. But it did start from the start. It started with sort of like beautiful photos with vintage filters. Do you guys remember the simple days when it was just that? And it was just square, and people were like, what? Where are you getting all these square photos? They're beautiful. And then they sort of developed to selfies and like the Kardashian clan. So that's sort of what's really, but I think when you are thinking of Instagram, see it as like lifestyle. So you're actually tapping into sort of, I don't know if anyone here has started following hashtags now, because you can do that as well, rather than people. It's sort of things, it's sort of things that you're interested in. And that's why I asked you before, as an artist, think about what you're standing for, also outside, so just in terms of music, but also in terms of other things that you're standing for that's really simple to brand. Because that is sort of what Instagram is. Instagram is a visual medium, and so you need it to be really, really quickly, visually recognizable what type of band you are, what type of artist you are. With that said, I just forgot about this, but this used to be our office dog, It's also a very popular place for dogs and kittens. And he's got like 3,000 followers. He's more popular than me, man. Jesus. Okay, so I have mentioned that, of course, you need to be visual and that people prefer the platform. They don't necessarily know that it is changing in terms of what you see in your newsfeed, and I'm sure you've probably already seen it, but it doesn't go in terms of timing anymore, in terms of dates. Do you recognize that? So sometimes you can see stuff that's older, sometimes you can see, so it's not all about the recency. That means that they have started getting their own newsfeed. So just like Facebook, they have their own newsfeed. It's not as complicated as Facebook, but it certainly affects things. So just be aware of that as well. I think the most important one for Instagram is really engagement. And so if people are not interacting with it, it will quickly die and it's not going to show up in their newsfeed. But it's something to be aware of. With that said, there are lots of other features that you can test out that are pushing your profile into other people's that are not necessarily following you. So Instagram stories is one of them. So of course your followers will see them, but there will also be certain people, I've noticed that people come up that I don't follow that they think that I might be interested in. Are you using Instagram stories? Anyone using that? Yes, yes, no, no. Do you know what it is? Quick recap?
Yeah, do it, please.
Yeah, so it's just, this is one of the features that they stole from Snapchat. So it's basically you can film or take a photo and you can put text on top of it, or you can write stuff, or you can do these little funny, crazy cat eyes. And it will come up at the top for anyone that uses Instagram. And when you click on it, it will live there for 24 hours. So it's all about like recency, about being in the now, and it doesn't get stuck on your wall. So if you want to have a pretty wall, a pretty Instagram wall, you can still keep that, but still have like crazy, hey, I'm just being crazy, hanging out with a cat or something like that, if you wanted to film that. So they have a lot of stuff. They've also added GIFs. If you don't know about Giphy, Giphi, it's a really good platform for creating GIFs, which will help you a lot in content creation. So please go in there. But they have also incorporated that, so you can, on your Instagram stories, use GIFs. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but just be aware that, yeah, it's all in between these guys. So it's Snapchat and Instagram, and they're just taking everything that Snapchat used to have. The problem with Snapchat was that it was very closed. They started opening that up, whereas Instagram has been an open platform. If you choose, just like Facebook, anyone can follow you, and it sort of feels more open to find content and follow people, whereas Snapchat was a lot more message to message for a long time, and I think that they lost a little bit out on that, but we'll see. You can now also add in links. This is only for verified profiles right now. They're taking down so more people can get verified on Instagram if you are looking to get verified. But you can add links. So when you're having a story, you can add like, hey, buy my tickets here. What you can do, though, for everyone, that's just very recently launched, is you can go on Spotify. If you have your track on Spotify, you can go on Spotify and you can share it to Instagram stories. And that's a really great way, and I would do that for all your releases. If you have them out there, please share them to Instagram stories. Very easy. And everyone will be aware of, hopefully, that you have a new single out. You can also now create little hubs on your profile. So if this is your profile, you can, from old Instagram stories, they'll now get saved. So from old Instagram stories, you can now create new hubs. So these ones are really silly because it's just like them and their friends. I mean, obviously, yeah, if you want to use it for your own personal profile, do it. But from a band perspective, it might be good if you have a release that's coming out, an album, you can put in anything that's related to that release in one of these. And then you can put in anything that's related to your tour or tour life in one of those. And so you can just keep updating them and it's a good way because when people visit your profile, they'll see that first. Does that all make sense?
So
Yes?
did you say that you can put in links? So for example, if the band is releasing a new single, for example, you can put it on Instagram and click on it.
Yeah,
To
so
Spotify or
yes, so there's one version where you can put in links, you just need to swipe up and it's connected to a link. That's for verify profile. But then there's the other one which everyone can use, and that's the one where you go in via Spotify and it says share on Instagram stories, and that will get yes. That will be a link where they put it in.
and
It's sort of
Stories
like
is this thing that's only available for 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And then it disappears. Once it's gone, you can add it to one of these, which we call highlights. It used to be that you couldn't zoom on Instagram, but you can now. Oh, sorry.
So each highlight is like a separate channel. That,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way that I would use it for a band. You can use it any way you like, really. But it contains. You can choose any information that you have from your Instagram stories, and you can create these little hubs. So it's quite. When I was talking about it's sort of lifestyle themed. You can theme it with. If you go on a YouTuber's Instagram, you'll see that one of them is like food, one of the other ones like makeup, the other one. So they have everything sorted, like travel. So if you think of an artist that way, it'll be like tour dates, the name of the album, or things like that. Does that make sense? Cool. This is just an extra one. You can zoom in on Instagram. So if you're looking to do a fun little campaign, you can hide, for example, this is a good one from Spotify where they've hidden little album covers. And so you have to zoom in to see them. So if you wanted to zoom in to reveal our album cover or something like that, you could do that as well. It's actually a feature that we just think of, but you can be creative with it. Okay, so I apologize in advance for this one. Okay, that was just a quick little something that I did. That is a feature that's available on Instagram. So they have these features that's called Boomerang. One of them is called Boomerang, which sort of creates like little GIFs. It will be like back and forth, back and forth. And then there is one that's called Hyperlapse, which will make everything go quicker. And then there's one that's stop motion. And the reason why I'm showing this is because it's really easy. A lot of the times when I work with bands, they say that we don't have enough content or we don't have anything. But you can create something from anything. Literally, you can do that and then to say, put like, hey, my new single is out. That's it. You have content. And for example, with Hyperlapse, that kind of fast forwards everything. For some reason, everything looks better when it's fast forwarded. So if you're having like an announcement, but you don't even have the tour poster yet, you can just write it on a piece of paper. I used to do that all the time with my events. I used to write it on a piece of paper, and it just speeds it up, and then it'll go really quickly, and it looks good. And that's simple ways of creating content. You don't have to be a pro designer. There are these things out there that really help you to be able to create all these material for socials. All right, so I'm gonna go into a few new features. So you can answer people on their Instagram stories and continue to build on that. So if you send me one, I can draw little funny faces on it and send back to you. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because you can actually do this with your fans. So you can do like competition where you're like, we're putting out this photo, send us back make us look like, I don't know why I thought Santa Claus is now, but make us look like Santa Claus, the best one wins. And you can just get these in your inbox and you can just choose whichever one you think is the funniest or whatever. So you can work with those things. I did mention hashtags, so that's just something to be aware of, that people can now follow hashtags, just to emphasize the lifestyle aspect. This one is interesting. So business profiles. Don't know if anyone has a business profile. Has anyone switched their Instagrams to business profile? So the reason with that is you do get a little bit, you can add like a phone number or an email. You don't have to when you switch it over. And you get first of all, you get insights, so you can see how well your posts are doing. But if you also switch to business, if you're doing advertising on Facebook, please switch to a business profile, because what you can do is create audiences specifically for Instagram. So a lot of the time when we're advertising, this is a little bit more complicated, so please come up and talk to me if you're having any questions about it. But when we're creating advertising from Facebook, we can create advertising for Instagram. The problem with that is that the audience we use is the Facebook audience. But now we can create audiences from business Instagram page engagers, for example. And so this allows us to create specific advertising for the people that are on Instagram. The reason why I'm saying this is it's important to be aware that when you're planning a campaign, there are people of like segments of your fans that will be only on Facebook and only reads Facebook. Then there'll be people that are only on Instagram and they'll only read Instagram. So if you're posting something on Facebook, expecting them to, to notice that you have a new single out, they're not going to notice that because actually I only check my Instagram, for example. And it's the same thing with YouTube and Twitter and Snapchat, depending on what type of demographics you have, of course. So it's important to be aware of that when you're advertising, creating content. Any key announcements, make sure that they're on all platforms.
Sorry,
yeah.
Does that mean that you have to post in every, like post the same thing on both Instagram
Yeah.
and Facebook? And just
You don't have to post exactly the same content. If, of course, it's a time thing, so if you don't have time, yeah, post it everywhere. It's just one post that you'll get, so that you make sure that everything's equal. For example, if I have the same video, I'll make sure that it's the right type for YouTube and Twitter in terms of sizing. So just make sure that. But you can do something different for Instagram if you want to, and do something other different for Facebook. If you have the time to create that, that's where the best campaigns are, because you need to create content that's native for the social feature, of course. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. And then we have Instagram shopping. This is available in Sweden for approved businesses. I just wanted to let you know that it might be get available for everyone later on. It's quite a difficult thing. You have to hook it up to Facebook, but it's really good for people that have a lot of merchandise. So if you're wearing your merchandise, it will be you can just pop it up and you can go directly to the page where you can buy it. So it's quite good. You can technically then you would be able to have a link between your website where you sell your merchandise and Instagram. So it's very easy. But that's just something for you to be aware of, that it's slowly rolling out. Okay, I'm going to finish off with some hopefully inspirational stuff. I always have this guy in because he's just so good. He continues to be really good. So if you haven't gone to Anderson .Paak's Instagram, go and check it out. It's amazing, and it continues for eternity. He does these whole photos. You can do one bit. This is a cool way of revealing an album artwork, for example, if you wanted to do that. But his continues for eternity, and they stick together. Sometimes they match together. And we actually did one of his campaigns, and the only thing that we couldn't touch was his Instagram, because he just has full control over this one. And it's fantastic, it's amazing. So he's doing it it's a great inspiration. And one thing to be aware of, it doesn't mean that you can't have videos with other types of content. So one thing you can do on Instagram is, for example, if I click on this, it could be a video hidden behind it, but he's chosen the cover image to be this. So make sure that you do that. A lot of people, when they upload their videos, their cover image becomes black because they haven't chosen it. The cover image should be, the part where it says out now or whatever, but they haven't actually gone in and chosen it, and there's always 1 second of blackness in your video, right? The first second, and that's the one that's going to show on your Instagram profile. So make sure to check that as well. This is a nice one as well from one of our Russian artists. She did this thing that she called the world's first Instagram album, where she just released music. Of course, it was available on other platforms, but she was releasing content around it on Instagram, and there's tons of these. David Bowie did an amazing one. There's Avicii did a really great one. So there's really good ones out there. But if you click on one of these, it will take you to another profile, and then the profile is specifically about that track. So this is her main Instagram, and then you click on it, and then it has a profile that's called the name of the track, for example, and you get to this. So then you have this whole thing. And then each one is like, one would be a letter, one would be lyrics, the other one would be a piece of video. And it's a little bit more complicated to set up, but it creates a story around your release. And so it's actually a really nice way for fans to get more content around it. And it just looks really good. This is a super easy way to use the swipe function. So I did this on the day that it became available, which is why it's not very complicated. We had just this cover, and they didn't want to have anything like particularly other than this. So it was literally just a video with the name of the tracks on the songs. The album was released the day after, and it was just sort of a preview, and they could just swipe through these little ones and just listen to the album. I mean, it's super easy, and anyone can put that together, hopefully. It's not too difficult. Another way, actually, of doing that, which I'm going to finish with, is one thing that's FKA Twigs is doing, and she has this whole project. She started an Instagram magazine. Unfortunately, I was planning actually on showing you, but it seems like it wasn't connected to my internet the same way that I thought it was. So I can't show you the full magazine, but this is one of them. And then she uses that swipe function, and she's created a visual magazine with things that she cares about. So it's very much what she stands for. It's political, it's about hair, for example, it's about fashion, so all the things that she really likes. And it looks really nice. And they call it, they have like issues, and they call it avant-garde. So that's a really good one as well, if you wanted to get some inspiration for that. Okay, that was it on Instagram. Actually, that was it for the whole thing. So I managed to do it. That's it. That's good. It's that. If there are any questions, please ask away. No? Well, I hope that you found it really interesting. If you have any questions, you have my email there. Jag kan byta tillbaka till svenska nu. Jag kan ju prata svenska. Så att jag bara switcha tillbaka nu. Men jag hoppas att ni har funnit inspiration och fått en overview av hur ni kan jobba med i alla fall 2 av plattformarna. Och förhoppningsvis så fick ni med någonting som ni kan använda för era egna band.
Absolut. Yes. Jättestort tack. Superintressant. Och
tack.
Vi har fått goda tips för hur vi kan jobba för att optimera. En handbok för demokrater.
Nice.
Och en liten
Tack så jättemycket.
Tack så hemskt mycket. Ja, men visst.
Tack så jättemycket, hörni.